Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt drained, even before a single word was spoken? Or met someone for the first time and felt a strange pull toward them, as if your souls already knew each other? What if I told you, it's not just in your head, it's energy, invisible, ancient, undeniable. Energy doesn't lie. Long before you speak, long after you've gone, your energy is already whispering the truth of who you are. In this world of polished words and practiced smiles, energy is the raw, unedited language of the soul. So the real question is not, how do I appear to others, but rather, what is my energy saying when I'm silent? Today, we journey into the mystical fabric of reality to understand how your very vibration becomes a magnet or a barrier for those around you. Welcome to the realm where energy speaks louder than words. Most of us have been taught to focus on appearances, what we wear, how we speak, how we carry ourselves. But the deepest connections you've ever made, were they based on looks or on something far more subtle? Energy is the silent thread that weaves us together or tears us apart. It is the pulse beneath your words, the frequency behind your smile, the unseen aura that either invites people in or pushes them away. If you've ever wondered why certain people seem drawn to you while others retreat, it's time to look beneath the surface. This isn't about charisma or charm, it's about resonance. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if your energy is heavy with unresolved pain, people will feel it even if you never say a word. But if your soul is radiant with authenticity, love, and clarity, you become a lighthouse for those seeking truth. In this video, we're going to unravel 10 layers of spiritual insight that explain exactly how your energy affects the world around you and how to become a conscious architect of the field you emit. This is the alchemy of presence. Let's begin. Before you speak, before you move, before your presence is even consciously acknowledged, your energy is already in conversation with the world. It is the first language you ever spoke, and the last one that will echo after you're gone. Long before the brain interprets words, the body and soul read vibration. That's why we feel people before we understand them. Every living being radiates a field, an energetic signature that holds the imprints of your emotions, your beliefs, your wounds, your joy, your truth. This field is not metaphorical, it's real. In quantum physics, it's referred to as the biofield, a measurable electromagnetic field surrounding all life. In ancient traditions, it is the aura, the light body, the pranic sheath. Whatever language you use, the truth remains. Your energy is constantly speaking. You might smile and say you're fine. But if grief sits in your chest, your energy will tell a different story. You may offer kindness with your words, but if resentment lingers in your field, others will sense the incongruence. This is why some people make us uncomfortable without doing anything wrong. It's not the surface, it's the vibration underneath. Have you noticed how animals react to energy before behavior? A dog doesn't care about your status or your script. It reacts to your field. Children too. They instinctively move closer to those who feel safe and recoil from those who feel unstable regardless of appearances. This isn't magic, it's biology. It's ancient memory, it's resonance. And humans, though layered with conditioning, still carry that instinct. We walk into rooms and feel tension in the air. We meet people and sense something's off. We don't always have the language for it, but we know it when we feel it. The field doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. In truth, energy is the most honest thing about you. You can filter your words, control your body language, curate your image. But your vibration? It is raw, honest, and constantly broadcasted into the world. It is your soul's frequency, tuned by your thoughts, your emotions, and most powerfully, your level of self-awareness. That's why awareness is everything. When you are unconscious of your energy, it runs wild with past wounds, limiting beliefs, and unresolved emotions. But when you become aware of your vibration, when you notice how it shifts based on your intention, your breath, your presence, you become the composer of your own frequency. You begin to emit on purpose rather than by default. And this is where true transformation begins. Because what you attract into your life, people, opportunities, experiences, is not determined by what you say you want. It is shaped by what your energy signals you are ready for. Energy speaks in frequency, and frequency is magnetic. You attract what vibrates in harmony with your field. This is why healing your energy changes your life without saying a word. So if you feel like others are constantly pulling away, ask not, what's wrong with them, but what am I radiating? If you find yourself drained after certain interactions, ask, what is my field absorbing and why am I still available for it? This is not about blame. It's about responsibility. Your energy is your responsibility, and once you realize that, you become powerful in a whole new way. You begin to choose presence over performance, intention over impression, truth over appearance, and in that space, something beautiful happens. People begin to feel safer around you, even if they can't explain why. The right ones are drawn to you not for what you do, but for who you are in your energetic essence. You no longer have to chase love, approval, or connection. Your presence becomes the invitation. But this doesn't come from pretending to be high vibe or suppressing negative feelings. It comes from doing the inner work of feeling what needs to be felt, healing what needs to be healed, and choosing to vibrate from a place of honesty, compassion, and clarity. Your energy is not static. It evolves as you evolve. And as you purify your field, as you release what no longer serves, your natural frequency begins to rise. You become less reactive, more magnetic, less performative, more present, less guarded, more real. In this way, energy becomes not just a concept but a path, a spiritual compass, a daily invitation to return to your essence. So ask yourself not once, but often, what is my energy saying when I'm not speaking? That answer will tell you more than any mirror ever could. There is a silent law operating beneath all human interaction, a law older than speech, deeper than logic. It is the law of resonance. Unlike the law of attraction, which many understand as thinking good thoughts to manifest good things, resonance is more primal. It does not respond to what you desire, it responds to what you embody. Two tuning forks placed close together will begin to vibrate in harmony if their frequencies match. If they don't, they stay silent or clash. Humans are not so different. When someone walks into a room and you feel an instant connection, it's not random. It's resonance. Something in them matches something in you. The same is true for discomfort. We feel uneasy not because someone is bad, but because their frequency doesn't align with ours. Or worse, it triggers an unconscious part of ourselves we've yet to integrate. This is why we attract people not just into our lives, but into our patterns. If your energy carries abandonment wounds, you might find yourself repeatedly magnetizing unavailable people. If your field is charged with unresolved guilt, you may attract those who project blame. It's not punishment, it's resonance. Life is not reacting to your words, it is responding to your frequency. Now consider this. Have you ever tried to hold on to someone who felt slippery, distant, unreachable? No matter how kind or available you were, they just couldn't stay? That's repellent energy. It's not about effort, it's about the invisible mismatch in vibration. When frequencies don't align, no amount of logic or love can force coherence. And the opposite is also true. When your field is open, clear, and grounded in truth, others can feel it even across silence. You become magnetic. You don't have to prove, chase, or persuade. Your presence becomes its own kind of gravity. But here's where it gets mystical. Sometimes, the people who are most drawn to you are not those in alignment, but those who are in longing. They feel your light, your peace, your clarity, not because they share it, but because they crave it. And unless you're discerning, this can drain you. This is why energetic boundaries are not just emotional skills, they are spiritual necessities. Not everyone who resonates with you is meant to walk beside you. Some are mirrors. Some are teachers. Some are simply passing frequencies that echo something from your past. And it's okay to let them go. The key is awareness. When you understand that resonance governs your relationships, you begin to watch not just who enters your life, but why. You start listening not just to words, but to fields. You begin to feel the difference between someone who energizes your soul and someone who pulls at your wounds. You stop confusing chemistry with alignment, intensity with connection. And you realize your greatest power is not in changing others, but in mastering your own vibration. Because when your energy is rooted in authenticity, healed from past distortions, and aligned with truth, you naturally repel what is false. You naturally magnetize what is real. You stop attracting from lack and begin radiating from fullness. Think of it like music. A tuned instrument doesn't need to force itself into harmony. It simply plays, and the right notes respond. The discord fades on its own. You don't chase alignment, you become it. But becoming magnetic doesn't mean being positive all the time. It means being real. Resonance is not about perfection, it's about purity. When you are clear about who you are, what you need, and what you no longer accept, your field sharpens. It no longer sends mixed signals. You become less of a question mark and more of an exclamation point. People begin to experience you not as a personality, but as a frequency. This is the shift from attraction to embodiment. So, if you want to attract conscious love, become deeply loving toward yourself. If you want to find peace in others, become peace in your own nervous system. If you seek truth, live it through your presence, your choices, your vibration. The field doesn't lie, and the field always responds. In the end, this isn't about manipulating your energy to get what you want. It's about liberating your essence so that what is meant for you can finally find its way. You don't need to be louder, shinier, or more likable. You need to be more you, the truest, clearest, most aligned version of you. Because when you are what is real, we'll recognize you instantly. And what isn't, will quietly fade away. That is the law of resonance, and it never misses. You may think your past is behind you, that the heartbreaks you've buried, the betrayals you've endured, the shame you've carried, they're over. But energy doesn't forget. What the mind suppresses, the body and soul continue to express. Wounds unhealed don't simply disappear, they echo. And their resonance ripples through your energetic field like an old song stuck on repeat. Imagine walking into a sacred temple where every step you take causes the floor to vibrate. If the ground is cracked, the sound will be distorted. If it's solid, it will ring clear and strong. Your energy field works in the same way. Every experience you've ever had leaves an imprint, especially the ones that went unacknowledged. The childhood rejection that taught you love must be earned. The silent grief that never found language. The moment you decided it wasn't safe to be seen. These moments become energetic signatures, and they shape how others feel you long before they know your name. That's why some people enter your life and instinctively treat you like a second priority, or why certain patterns keep repeating like clockwork. It's not that you consciously invite disrespect or rejection. It's that your field is echoing frequencies of old pain that haven't yet been cleared. And others, consciously or not, respond to that vibration. This is why self-love isn't just a feel-good mantra. It's energetic repair. You can't fake healed energy. You can say all the right affirmations. You can post quotes about self-worth. But if your inner child is still crouching in the dark, waiting to be chosen, that pain will bleed into your field. And people will feel it not as weakness, but as vulnerability left unguarded. And the world, by its nature, will press on what is still raw. This is not cruelty, it's feedback. Energy always offers the truth we've been avoiding. But here's the gift. Once you acknowledge the wound, the frequency begins to shift. Energy doesn't demand perfection, it seeks honesty. When you stop hiding from your pain, you stop broadcasting desperation. When you validate your own feelings, you stop begging others to do it for you. And in that process, your field begins to change, not from the outside in, but from the soul outward. Healing, in this sense, is not about fixing yourself. It's about realigning with your original wholeness, the part of you that was never broken, only buried. The part of you that existed before the first heartbreak, before the first betrayal. That inner light may have been dimmed by life's storms, but it was never extinguished. And every act of inner work, every tear shed in truth, every breath taken in stillness, is an act of clearing the fog around that light. The clearer your energy, the more coherent your field. And coherence is magnetic. You'll notice that people start responding differently, not because they've changed, but because you have. Old triggers dissolve. Drama loses its grip. You begin to attract relationships that reflect your healing instead of your pain. Opportunities come not through force but flow. You become a sanctuary of calm in a chaotic world. But make no mistake, healing your energy isn't always peaceful. It requires courage to sit with memories you've tried to outrun, to feel the emotions you've labeled as too much, to choose presence over avoidance. But the reward is freedom, energetic sovereignty. No longer defined by old wounds, no longer shaped by others' projections. no longer stuck in loops of unworthiness or fear. You reclaim your field. You become the keeper of your vibration, and as your wounds transform, so does your presence. People feel safer around you, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Your energy stops screaming for attention or validation. It begins to rest in its own center, and that stillness, subtle yet profound, is what others feel drawn to. You become a mirror, not the kind that distorts, but the kind that reflects others back to themselves clearly, truthfully, compassionately. That's the power of a healed energy field. It doesn't just change your life, it blesses those who come near you. Your presence becomes medicine, not because you give advice, but because your very being whispers, it's safe to be whole again. So if your life feels stuck, if you're attracting the same wounds in new forms, stop asking what's wrong with the world. Ask, what is my energy still echoing? Because that question will open a doorway, and on the other side of that doorway is liberation. We live in a world obsessed with persona, with carefully curated identities, with polished exteriors and performances designed to impress, seduce, or convince. But beyond the screens, beneath the filters, behind the rehearsed smiles, there's something else that always tells the truth. Your presence. Presence is not what you wear, not what you post, not even what you say. It is the unspoken atmosphere that surrounds you, the frequency you radiate when you're not trying. It is how people feel in your company. Calmer or more anxious, seen or invisible, invited or pushed away. And here's the paradox. The more you chase persona, the more your presence fades. Because true presence cannot be faked, it must be inhabited. We've all felt it, that mysterious gravity of someone who walks into a room and instantly shifts the space. They don't demand attention, but attention naturally flows to them. They're not trying to prove anything, yet everyone leans in. Why? Because their energy is coherent, aligned, rooted in something deeper than image. Their presence doesn't perform, it emanates. And then there are others, perhaps louder, dressed in attention-grabbing ways, full of charm and wit, yet somehow we sense the hollowness. Something feels off. Because underneath the performance, there is no stillness, no groundedness, no presence. This is the great spiritual divide between persona and presence. Persona is built, presence is revealed. Persona is outer, presence is inner. Persona is reactive, shaped by what others think of us. Presence is magnetic, anchored in what we truly are. You may attract temporary attention through persona, but you only forge lasting connection through presence. Because humans at their core crave resonance. We don't need more noise, we need realness. We don't remember perfect people, we remember those who made us feel safe, inspired, alive. And safety doesn't come from charm, it comes from coherence. When who you are, how you feel, and what you express are in alignment, your field becomes harmonious, and others relax in your presence, even if they don't consciously know why. So how do we cultivate true presence? Not by adding more layers, but by shedding them, by getting radically honest with ourselves, by feeling the emotions we've avoided, by confronting the parts we've disowned, by choosing to be here fully in our bodies, in our breath, in our truth. Presence is born in stillness, it grows in awareness, it thrives in authenticity. When you stop performing and start embodying, something ancient wakes up inside you, a deeper intelligence, a knowing. Your energy stops screaming for approval and begins to hum with quiet power. You no longer walk into a room wondering, will they like me? Instead, your very presence asks, can they meet me here? This is the power of embodied truth. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it simply is. And it's this quality, this grounded, open, centered presence that others feel drawn to. Not because you said the right thing, but because you felt real, and realness is rare. So many are exhausted by the performance of connection, by the endless games, roles, masks. What they long for is energy that feels honest, hearts that feel safe, souls that feel familiar, and the only way to offer that is to be that. Presence begins when you stop trying to be someone and allow yourself to be something, a vessel for clarity, a channel for grace, a mirror for truth. This isn't passive, it's profound. It's not showy, but it is unforgettable. And when you live from this place, your impact becomes exponential. You shift rooms without speaking. You inspire without effort. You heal others simply by being in alignment with yourself. You become the rare person who brings others back to themselves just by standing in your own energy, without apology. This is not about spiritual ego, it's about spiritual integrity, because your energy is your message, not your resume, not your elevator pitch, not your accolades. Your energy is the first sermon people hear from you, the first poem they read, the first memory they carry, and that energy is crafted not in public, but in solitude, in your practices, in your prayers, in your healing, in your commitment to being inwardly whole before being outwardly impressive. So release the pressure to perform. Let go of the chase for image. Return to presence. Because the more you drop into who you truly are, the more those who are meant for you will find their way. Without effort, without struggle, without masks, they will recognize you, not because you looked the part, but because your presence made them remember their own. Truth has a vibration. You can feel it, not just in words, but in presence. It hums through the tone of someone's voice, rests in the stillness between their sentences, and saturates the silence they're not afraid to hold. Truth doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't seek to impress. It simply resonates. Like a tuning fork to the soul, it calls out to what is real in others. This is why people who are deeply honest emotionally, spiritually, energetically, tend to shift the atmosphere around them. Their very being carries a frequency that cuts through illusion, dissolves tension, and creates space for others to be real. And yet, honesty is not always comfortable. It has a way of clearing rooms just as much as it has a way of opening hearts. Because when your aura is saturated in truth, it becomes a natural filter. Those who are aligned with your integrity will be drawn to you often without knowing why. They'll feel the safety of your clarity, the invitation of your openness. But those who are attached to illusion, manipulation, or performance will find your energy unsettling. Not because you're unkind, but because you're unshakable. You become a mirror that reveals what they've worked hard to avoid. And not everyone is ready to see that. This is not judgment, it's frequency. Truth, by its very nature, distills, it simplifies, it sharpens. And as your energy field becomes more truthful, free from pretense, from self-betrayal, from masked intentions, you begin to notice a shift in your relationships. People may leave, old dynamics may fall apart. What once felt tolerable becomes unbearable. And while this may feel like loss, it is actually purification. The more honest you become with yourself, the less resonance you have with anything built on dishonesty. And that includes parts of yourself. Because truth isn't just about what you say to others, it's about what you're finally willing to admit to yourself. The ways you've dimmed your light to fit in, the emotions you've denied to keep the peace, the dreams you've buried out of fear. All of these suppressions live in your field. And until they are acknowledged, they distort your frequency, sending mixed signals to the universe, to others, and to your own spirit. When you begin telling the truth, especially the hard, quiet truths, your energy changes. You feel lighter, even if nothing has changed externally. You stop leaking energy trying to maintain facades. You stop attracting confusion because your field is no longer confused. Honesty aligns you, and alignment is magnetic. It also brings clarity. You start to see people not as you hope they'll be, but as they are. You recognize the difference between words and intentions, between charm and character. Your intuition sharpens, your nervous system relaxes. You stop trying to decode people because truth lives plainly in their presence. And just as your truth filters others, it also calls your tribe. When you live in integrity, not perfection, but sincerity, you become a beacon for those on the same path. Souls in resonance will find you. Conversations will deepen. Trust will build effortlessly. You won't have to explain your worth or fight to be seen. Your energy will speak for you. But perhaps most sacred of all is that you begin to feel at home inside yourself. When your inner world aligns with your outer expression, when your energy reflects your truth without distortion, you stop living in internal conflict. You no longer need to be liked by everyone, only seen by the right ones. You no longer fear solitude because solitude with truth is sweeter than company built on illusion. This is the aura of truth. It doesn't make you better than others. It makes you free, free to express, free to feel, free to love without bargaining away your integrity, free to walk away when peace is no longer present, free to be who you are without apology. And yes, this kind of freedom will cost you. It will cost you the comfort of fitting in, the illusion of control, the roles you were taught to play. But what you gain is everything. You gain peace, clarity, resonance, and relationships that don't just look good but feel like home. Because energy doesn't lie, and when yours is grounded in truth, it becomes undeniable. There's a quiet strength in knowing where you end and where the world begins. In a universe saturated with emotional noise, spiritual bypassing, and unspoken expectations, the most powerful act of self-respect is not how loudly you defend yourself, but how clearly you define your energetic edges. Boundaries are not walls. They are portals of self-trust. And yet, many people confuse boundaries with coldness, as if protecting your energy means closing your heart. But that is a false dichotomy. In truth, the most open-hearted people are often those with the clearest boundaries because they understand something essential. Love cannot exist where energy is constantly violated. Without boundaries, even the most generous soul becomes a leaking vessel, drained, confused, lost in other people's stories. Your energy field is sacred territory. It is the unseen garden of your being, shaped by your intentions, nourished by your emotions, and guarded by your awareness. Every interaction you engage in, every conversation, every glance, every scroll either feeds or depletes that field. And if you are not consciously tending to it, the world will do it for you, with its chaos, its urgency, its projections. This is where boundaries become a spiritual art. They are not about keeping others out. They are about keeping yourself in, intact, aligned, whole. You don't set boundaries to punish. You set them to preserve clarity, to ensure that your soul's signal doesn't get lost in the noise of people who don't know how to listen. You don't have to shout no to the world. Your energy can say it for you. A grounded no in your field is louder than any argument. But boundaries are more than behavioral, they're vibrational. You can tell someone your limits 1,000 times, but if your energy says, "I will tolerate this because I fear being alone," they will always respond to your field, not your words. That's why the most effective boundaries are not announced, they are embodied. Think of a mountain. It does not move, does not argue, does not justify, it simply is. And because of that, the wind dances around it differently. The same is true with your energy. When you stand in clarity, the world begins to orient itself around your integrity. But how do you maintain boundaries without closing your heart? You begin by recognizing that compassion without discernment becomes codependency, that empathy without clarity becomes entanglement, that being nice at the expense of your truth is not spiritual, it's self-abandonment. You can say no with love. You can walk away in peace. You can create distance with grace. In fact, the most sacred boundaries are not loud, they are calm. They don't come from rage or reactivity, they arise from self-honoring. And when your field begins to reflect that, you stop attracting people who feed on your energy. You start attracting people who respect it. People who recognize the language of sovereignty, who come not to take, but to share. Who don't fear your power, but celebrate your clarity. Because the deeper truth is this: when you protect your energy, you also protect your gifts, your presence, your softness, your joy. These are not infinite resources. They require tending, space, renewal, and boundaries are the conditions that allow your light to burn without burning out. In this way, boundaries become an act of love, not just for others, but for yourself. You are not here to be everything to everyone. You are not here to carry what was never yours. You are not here to explain your worth to those committed to misunderstanding you. You are here to be a clear channel, a radiant soul, a grounded force. And that requires saying no to what is false, what is draining, what is no longer aligned. This isn't harsh, it's sacred. Your energy is your responsibility, your peace is your home, and boundaries are the invisible architecture of both. So, let your field speak. Let your presence decide who stays and who fades. Let your clarity become your protection. And let your heart stay open, not to everyone, but to truth, to grace, to what nourishes your soul. Because when your boundaries are clear, your heart doesn't need armor. It can finally beat in rhythm with your soul. Desire is not weakness. It is not a flaw to be suppressed or a distraction to be conquered. In its purest form, desire is sacred. It is the compass of the soul, the pulse of the divine moving through you, asking you to remember what you came here to feel, to create, to become. Desire is the language your spirit uses to whisper, "There is more." But the world often teaches us to fear desire, to shrink it, to sanitize it, to hide it behind politeness, behind logic, behind control. We're told not to want too much, not to feel too deeply, not to dream too far, as if desire is dangerous, as if longing makes us powerless. But in truth, desire only becomes chaotic when it's disconnected from presence, when we chase what we long for without first embodying the energy of it. Because here's the mystery: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Wanting love while vibrating in abandonment will not bring you love, it will bring you more echoes of abandonment. Craving abundance while resonating in scarcity will only multiply the experience of lack. It's not that your desires are wrong, it's that your field is not yet coherent with them. Desire is a magnetic force, but only when it flows from clarity. So the first step in energetic manifestation is not outward pursuit, it is inward alignment. Ask not just what do I want, but who must I become in order to resonate with what I seek? This is where desire transforms into destiny, not through fantasy, but through embodiment. An embodiment begins in the nervous system. If you desire a peaceful life, but your body is constantly tense, reactive, on edge, you are not yet a match for peace. If you seek deep, soul-level love, but abandon yourself in every relationship, you are not yet a safe space for that love to land. If you long to be seen but hide your truth to fit in, you are sending out mixed signals. An energy listens not to your hopes, but to your habits. To magnetize what is true for you, you must become a clear frequency, not perfect, not emotionless, but integrated. Feel your desires fully without shame. Let them burn bright. Let them teach you who you are becoming. And then rather than reaching out for them, breathe them inward. Anchor their essence in your field. Want love? Become the energy of love. In how you speak to yourself, in how you walk into a room, in how you care for your own heart. Want abundance? Begin honoring your value not just in thought, but in action. Want purpose? Start living with presence in the tasks already before you. The universe does not respond to desperation, it responds to devotion. And devotion is quiet, steady, rooted. It is the daily choice to live in the vibration of your vision. Not because it's already here, but because you trust that it's already real, that it is finding you, that it is already on its way. What you long for is also looking for you. Your desires are not accidents, they are soul-coded messages, energetic signatures of future realities that already exist in potential. And the more you purify your field, the more you release fear, doubt, old stories, the more those realities move from potential to presence, from dream to now. But let this be clear. Desire does not guarantee ease. It guarantees transformation. Because for your desires to find you, they will first shape you. They will ask you to grow, to stretch, to let go. They will test your faith not in them, but in yourself. In your worthiness, in your willingness to hold what you once only imagined. And so, part of honoring desire is becoming the version of you who can carry its weight. This is not about manifesting outcomes, it's about embodying frequency. Because when you embody the frequency of your truest desires, you don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you invite. You don't shrink, you expand. Your field becomes the magnet, and life responds accordingly. So, let your longing be holy. Let it be a map, not a burden. Let it carve a space inside you where the future can take root. And know that when your energy says yes, the universe never says no. It may not arrive how you imagined. It may not follow your timeline, but it will arrive in the most sacred, aligned, mysterious of ways. Because energy doesn't lie, and your soul's truest desires were never random, they were instructions. There are people you meet once and never forget. Not because of what they said, not because of how they looked, but because something inside you recognized them. Deeply. Instantly. Beyond logic. Beyond explanation. It was as if time folded for a moment, and your soul whispered, "There you are." These are the connections that leave you breathless. Not out of romance, necessarily, but out of familiarity, as if your energy had already danced with theirs in another realm, in another lifetime, or simply in that vast, invisible field where soul blueprints are written long before bodies meet. This is soul resonance. It's what happens when two energetic fields harmonize in a way that bypasses the mind. It's not attraction in the usual sense, it's remembrance. A deep, sacred knowing that says, this person matters, this moment matters, and you can't manufacture it, you can't force it. Because soul resonance is not born in performance. It's not born in social compatibility or shared hobbies. It's born in vibration. And vibration is timeless. Sometimes this resonance shows up as love that feels ancient. Other times, it feels like a sudden mirror, someone who reflects back your own essence in a way that's both comforting and terrifying. They see you, not the version you crafted for the world, but the raw, luminous truth of you. And that kind of seeing awakens you. These soul-aligned connections don't always come with ease. They often shake something loose in you. They challenge your patterns. They break open old walls. They stir up forgotten dreams or unresolved wounds. Why? Because resonance is not always gentle. It's honest. And honesty, especially at a soul level, will always invite growth. That's why not all resonant souls stay forever. Some arrive as catalysts. Their purpose is to awaken you, not to accompany you. They touch your life like lightning, brief, luminous, irreversible. And though the relationship may end, their imprint on your energy lingers. You are never quite the same. But some stay. Some connections defy time. They evolve with you. They deepen, not through perfection, but through energetic truth. With these people, silence becomes communion. Eye contact becomes prayer. Conflict becomes alchemy. There's no need to impress, to perform, to hide. Your presence is enough. Their presence is enough, and the space between you becomes sacred. This is what happens when energies don't just align, they remember. You cannot summon these people through willpower. You can only prepare for them. And the preparation is not about becoming more likable, it's about becoming more yourself. More whole, more clear in your field. Because resonance happens not when you chase, but when you match. That's the mystery and the magic of it. When you become a clear signal, you become discoverable by those who are tuned to your soul's frequency. And you'll know the difference. You'll feel it in your body, a sense of grounding, a sense of home, a quiet certainty beneath the excitement. You'll feel safe to be both your light and your shadow, safe to speak or not speak, safe to expand. These are not always perfect people, but they are your people, not defined by time but by truth. And in a world full of noise, that kind of resonance is rare, sacred, worth protecting. So if you haven't found these souls yet, don't lose heart. Don't chase. Don't settle. Keep tending your field. Keep becoming the clearest, truest version of yourself. Because energy doesn't lie, and what is yours by soul will never miss you by force. You don't find soul resonance. You allow it. You align with it. And then one day, when your heart is ready, when your energy is clear, when your presence speaks louder than your persona, they will find you. Or rather, you will both arrive to the same space at the same time. And remember, in the physical world, we learn to build trust through words, actions, time. But in the energetic realm, trust is built differently. It's not based on what you say, it's based on what you are. It's not built by promises, but by consistency of vibration. Vibrational integrity is the alignment between your inner truth and your energetic signal. It's when your energy matches your intention. When your presence feels the same in silence as it does in speech. When your field is not sending mixed messages because your soul and your behavior are no longer at odds. And make no mistake, energy is sensitive to inconsistency. You may not always know why someone feels off, but your nervous system does. It can detect micro discrepancies between someone's words and their vibe, between what they offer and what they radiate. That's why you can be surrounded by nice people and still feel unsafe. Because safety doesn't come from pleasantness, it comes from coherence. Inconsistency confuses the field. It muddies your frequency. It causes others to question your truth, not because you're malicious, but because your energy is unreliable. And unreliability on a vibrational level is a breach of trust. But when your energy is consistent, when your vibration is stable, and your frequency grounded in integrity, you become trustworthy not just to others, but to the universe. This is the key many overlook. Manifestation isn't just about desire, it's about trustworthiness. Can your field hold what you're asking for? Can it maintain coherence under pressure? Can it stay aligned when the external world tests your inner truth? Your ability to receive, to magnetize, to expand relies on the steadiness of your vibration. Integrity is not perfection, it's wholeness. It's the willingness to live in such a way that your words, emotions, actions, and intentions all come from the same place. And when they don't, you pause, you reflect, you realign. That's vibrational maturity. In practical terms, it means showing up the same way even when no one is watching. It means honoring your boundaries even when it's inconvenient. It means speaking truth even when your voice shakes. It means not just being high vibe on social media, but radiating clarity, humility, and truth, even in moments of vulnerability or discomfort. And when you do that, your field begins to hold integrity. People feel it, they trust it, not because you say the right thing, but because your energy is stable, safe, real, and this consistency creates magnetism. The universe too begins to respond. When your energy becomes a reliable container, life can deliver bigger blessings, deeper love, wider expansion, not as a reward, but as a resonance. Because the frequency you hold determines the reality you receive. But here's the truth. This level of consistency requires self-leadership. You must lead your energy before you lead your life. When fear arises, you hold space for it without letting it hijack your vibration. When pain speaks, you listen, but you don't broadcast it unconsciously into every room you enter. When you fall out of alignment, as we all do, you return, not with shame, but with devotion. This kind of vibrational responsibility is quiet, invisible, but profound. It means you no longer let the world dictate your field. You choose how you show up, not reactively, but deliberately. And that consistency becomes your frequency's signature. Others may not understand you, but they will feel you, and they will trust you because your energy says, "I am who I say I am." In a world of chaos and confusion, vibrational integrity is a lighthouse, a signal in the fog. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are not pretending to. You are grounded, present, real, and that is rare. So if you want to attract deeper relationships, richer opportunities, more aligned experiences, don't just ask for more. Ask yourself, is my energy trustworthy enough to hold what I'm asking for? If the answer is no good, that's your invitation. Not to perform better, but to align deeper. Because when you live in vibrational integrity, everything in your life begins to harmonize. Not because you control it, but because you no longer contradict it. There comes a moment on the path when you stop trying to attract and start simply becoming. You no longer ask, how can I pull things toward me? Instead, you begin to embody the energy that says, I am here, steady, lit from within. If you are meant to find me, you will. This is the shift from magnet to lighthouse. A magnet pulls, draws in, seeks to hold. It operates from the need to bring something closer. But a lighthouse, it simply shines. It doesn't move. It doesn't chase ships across the sea. It radiates, and in doing so, it becomes a beacon, clear, unwavering, dependable. Some ships find it, some don't. That's not the lighthouse's concern. Its only task is to shine. This is the final frequency, sovereignty. You have done the inner work, cleared the static, aligned your field, honored your truth, and now you realize you don't need to convince energy of anything. You are energy. You don't need to persuade others to stay. You are already home. You don't need to manipulate frequency to receive love, purpose, abundance. You are the frequency. When you live as a lighthouse, you don't attract by effort, you inspire by essence. People feel your clarity, your peace, your refusal to betray yourself for belonging. And those who are truly aligned, truly ready, truly resonant, will arrive. Not because you called them, but because your light showed them the way. And yes, this path can be lonely. There will be times when you feel like the only one standing still while the world rushes past. Times when you wonder if your light is seen. Times when your stillness is misunderstood as aloofness. But don't dim, don't chase, don't contract, because in the stillness of your field, something extraordinary is happening. You're becoming a frequency anchor, a stabilizing force, a sacred signal in a chaotic world. Not everyone will understand it, but the ones who are meant to will feel it in their bones. And they will arrive not to complete you, but to co-create with you. That's the beauty of energetic mastery. It doesn't isolate you, it purifies what enters your space. You don't need a crowd to feel full. You don't need attention to feel seen. You don't need constant affirmation to feel worthy. You are lit from the inside out, and that light becomes your offering. You walk into rooms and shift atmospheres. You sit in silence and awaken truth. You speak with intention and change the trajectory of souls. Not because you're trying, but because you're being. You become the kind of presence that reminds others of their own. And what once felt like the edge of your transformation becomes the beginning of your service. Because this world needs more lighthouses, not louder voices, not shinier personas, but anchored souls who have walked through their shadows and come out glowing, who have learned that energy is not a game but a gift, who understand that the greatest power lies not in what you attract, but in what you hold. So if you've made it this far, this deep, it means something in you is awakening, a remembrance, a resonance, a readiness. You don't need to chase energy. You are energy. You don't need to seek permission to shine. Just shine. Let your presence speak louder than your words. Let your vibration draw those who are ready. Let your boundaries protect your fire. Let your truth be your compass. And know this, your light is never wasted. Even if unseen, even if unacknowledged, it is felt somewhere. It is working somehow, and in ways you may never fully know, it is already changing the world. You are never just a body walking through space. You are never just a voice speaking into noise. You are energy, vibrating across dimensions, felt before you are seen, known before you are heard. Everything you've lived, loved, lost, and learned has shaped the frequency you carry now, and that frequency is your truth. But here's the awakening. You are not bound by your past signal. You are not doomed to attract chaos, pain, or patterns that no longer serve you. You are not a prisoner of your old energy. You are the author of its evolution. Every breath, every choice, every moment of awareness is a chance to recalibrate, to become more coherent, more honest, more aligned. The way you walk into a room matters. The way you hold silence matters. The way your presence shifts the space around you matters. So let your energy become sacred. Let it be a sanctuary of integrity, warmth, and truth. Let it speak even when your mouth is closed. Let it magnetize those who are meant for you, not because you need them, but because you've become the kind of being who calls others home. And if no one told you this today, you are powerful, not because of what you do, but because of what you emanate. You are remembered not by your resume, but by your resonance. And you are worthy not for how well you perform, but for how deeply you've dared to become yourself. Shine from that place and let the world respond to your truth. If this message awakened something within you, if your soul whispered yes while your mind was still catching up, then this was meant for you. Like, subscribe, share this with the ones who are searching for the same light. And remember, your energy speaks long before you do. Let it say something true.